What is going on, party people in the house? I was reading the comments. Overweight lover, define on time. CP time, overweight lover. I'm right on time. Sandman is in here. All you guys, Chris Bennett, Money B is in the house. Come on in, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hope everyone is doing good. It's your uncle. It's time for the old-fashioned show. And obviously, it's time for us to break down some of the things that have happened, some of the breaking news that happened overnight. So your uncle's got you covered. So do me a favor. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. Hopefully you have done that already. And let's get into a good Texas conversation. So good morning to everybody. Allow me 30 seconds to tweet this thing out. Let's take our time. We ain't going nowhere. Let me retweet this so my followers know that the show has gotten started. And gotten, I don't believe that's a proper word, but it's okay. We're about to do this here. I don't know. Let's do that. Medea. Good morning to everybody. All right, we are up. We are all good to go. Would you ever YouTube get? Would you ever YouTube intro? What? Hold on. Oh, I know what you're saying. Yes, overweight lover. The intro that you should have for the yak. I don't know, man. The copyright here is going to be a lot more difficult. I know exactly what you're talking about. The copyright here is going to be a lot. Every time, dog, I'm just going to tell you, anytime I use something that maybe is, or sometimes even I use stuff on Twitter, we get a copyright thing. We gotta go back and take it off. So I think that's gonna be tough. I'll be honest with you, just to say, because now it's not some guy giving this for a podcast. I know exactly what he's talking about. I won't be able to do that. Overnight, breaking news happened overnight, though. Steve Sarkisian went ahead and hired Rutgers cornerbacks coach Mike Orphey. I kind of talked about it this week. As far as I talked about it a lot actually this week. I talked about it on Monday, a little bit on yesterday as well. There was a narrowing down of the three candidates. And all of y'all kind of funny, by the way. I read a lot of y'all's Twitter's comments last night and this morning, and you guys are absolutely hilarious. But there was a narrowing down to three people. It came down between Notre Dame coach Mike Mickens, Pitt assistant head coach Corey Sanders, and Rutgers cornerback coach Mike Orphey. And at the end of the day, Orphey ends up being the guy that gets the job. Thank you, Benji. And he ends up being, it's kind of the thing, if you watch the show, and a lot of y'all do, which I do appreciate, by the way. It was kind of thing that I think somebody asked me yesterday, what where my gut was at and all those kind of things, and I was like, it's probably Orphey, right? I've been kind of saying like, thought that was Orphey, and for a lot of different reasons, right? But the one thing about Steve Sarkisian is sometimes the non-obvious choice is the obvious choice. You know what I'm saying? It's like sometimes it's not what people say, is what they don't say. In life, it's kind of like, it's like you ask somebody a question and they start talking about everything else but that thing. And you're like, wait a second, you never really addressed what I was talking about. And so sometimes with Sark, it's like it's the non-obvious choice. And that's where, when you started looking at a guy like Mickens, you're like, well, this checks a lot of boxes. And that makes a lot of sense. And he's got a good name, probably a DC in the future. Then I looked at Corey Sanders. And I was like, And I did some research on him, and people told me how he checked all the boxes. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. Then I was like, Mike Orphey. And you remember like, I don't know how many of y'all remember. Y'all remember Sesame Street? Y'all remember that thing where it was like they used to do like, which of these kids is doing his own thing, right? It'd be like a bunch of kids like dribbling, like playing for football, and the one kid like with a basketball or something. And that's what Orphey was for me for a second. I'm like, I don't know if something about this is different. Because this is different, that's the one I need to focus in on, right? So But at the end of the day, they pull the string on it. Sark goes ahead and hires him, and I'll break down a little bit of this for you. So we'll go there. So let me start with Blake Gideon. I'll start with Blake Gideon first. Um, you know, it was viewed that Blake Gideon was going to be a huge loss, right? When Blake Gideon goes and interviews at Georgia Tech the other week, um, I think the sense behind the scenes was that okay, he's got this possibility. And go ahead and get your questions in the chat. If you got questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. I'll hit all your questions today. So go ahead and just put your questions in the chat. Like Vivek's got some. If you got any questions, I'll definitely hit them up, and I'll definitely answer everything that I can for you. So Blake Gideon leaves, takes the job, and he interviews for the Georgia Tech DC job. And so at that time, like it's kind of hard to know what's going to happen, right? Nobody knows if he's the top guy, if he's just a guy, like all those things. And that's good to know. By the way, you got a shout out. Hold on 1 second. South End Zone Queen is in here. It says you got a shout out from OTF to get credit where credit is due. Oh, yeah, I'm cool with Bobby, to be quite honest with you. I'm cool with Bobby and Vogel and those guys over there. They, I don't have problems with any of this. I don't know. I just view this whole thing as it's weird, but I just view it as like, just golf, just play your own game and don't worry about other things. So, but Bobby and I are cool, and most people in this market and I are cool. Probably only a couple of people that I don't really ride with, but everybody else I'm pretty cool with. So it's cool. But so thanks. I appreciate that. Thanks for letting me know. But anyway, so when Blake Gideon leaves, it goes and actually interviews with Georgia Tech. Like no one knows what's going to happen, right? No one knows first choice, is he second choice, is he third choice, like all those kind of things, right? And then he gets the job, which was interesting because Blake Gideon actually had received a raise here at Texas, right? He actually received another $100K to be here at Texas. No, baby. I don't know. Jerry and I got into it one time, but because he called me out, but I think we're cool now. I think we talked and I think we're okay now. But that I feel like that was a long time ago. I feel like that's water under the bridge, to be quite honest with you. That shit happens. I like all the guys for On3 too. Like I get along with a lot of people. So you can just start doing the math on who I say I don't get along with. So I don't want to keep telling you who I get along with, because then you'll do a quick deduction and they'll be like, well, you didn't say this. Anyway, so he gets the job let me stop all that. All right. So he gets the job at Georgia Tech, right? And so the thought process was they need to find someone strong in the room because, I can say a little bit more now than I could say probably at the time. But Gideon's loss was really felt hard in the safety room. I was told once the news of Gideon leaving kind of hit those guys, there was at least one person, and I won't say there were people who were definitely affected, people who were kind of emotional about it because they felt like he was kind of like a father figure to some of these people, like and like literally that's how he was. Like that's kind of the impact that Gideon had. Like there's really people who really, really adored him in that room. And so when they knew he was gone, and like it was a sting. And so, what communicated to me was like, man, the next hire, we got to get this right. Like this has got to be an ace hire, right? So I'm like, okay. So, they start going down, I think I told you guys originally there was a list, probably about like 12 names. And Sark keeps a running list of the names of guys that if someone leaves, Sark's got this list. Like he's just got this running list of so like running back coach leaves. I got my list. Wide receiver coach leaves, I got my list. Like, and down the line it goes, right? And so that's kind of the Shark was. He was like, all right, time to go into my Rolodex. Old school. Old school. Like, y'all young folks don't even know what a Rolodex is. Y'all don't even know what a Rolodex is. And y'all definitely don't know what it's like to actually have to write down somebody's number on like a piece of pen and paper. Some of y'all, you remember you had like a little, if y'all was trying to be like have pimp game back in the day, you actually like wrote it down in like your little black book. You'd be like, "Ooh, these are my numbers." It's like, hey man, look how many numbers I got. Right, all right. Anyways, that's old school. That's old school. Being able to talk to someone and get their number, save it, and then hold it, and then be able to put it down in your phone book, and then be able to call them later. Y'all don't know nothing about that. So Sark goes to his black book. And he goes and it starts going down list. It starts about like 12 names, right? And it starts to dwindle down. And the thing is, I think I said last week that there was a hope that, okay, maybe this thing can be done by the weekend. But Sark to his defense, he was trying to take a vacation, right? Because he's like, he gave everybody last week off. He's like, y'all just get away for the week. We've been going hard. We've been grinding. We barely had any time off. So everybody just get away if you can. And of course, day one, he finds out the Shark Choice is interviewing with the Cowboys. So vacation blown, right? How many of us we know what that's like, right? You try to take vacation, and all of a sudden, that day, you just try to sip on a little something. Your boss calls you, like, really? Damn, I should have blocked your ass. So anyway, so the Shark Choice, that thing happens, right? And so he interviews it with the Cowboys. They do what it takes to keep him. Gets an extra $800K. Then they get a commitment from the offensive lineman. That's not like the end of the world. And then he finds out like a day or so later that Blake Gideon's leaving. And so now all of a sudden, now he's in a full-fledged coaching search on his vacation, right? You're like, damn. And so the thought was, you know what? Let's just get past the Super Bowl. Let's just try to have a good weekend, watch the Super Bowl. I don't know if Sark's a Kendrick Lamar fan, but he's from the West Coast, so he probably is. And then he's like, let's hit the ground running this week. So he hits the ground running, obviously making phone calls throughout the weekend. He hits the ground running this week. He brings in the guys for an interview. All three guys get interviewed. Mickens gets interviewed. Sanders gets interviewed. Orphey gets interviewed. But you know, I started receiving some early indications that Orphey would probably be the guy that they like, and one of the things that they really like about him is, and I mentioned this before, but it is the Houston ties, right? It's the ties that being there for North Shore, it's the ties that being at Houston and being that area, going to Texas State, like all those things are really work to his benefit. Now it's interesting because that hasn't always been Sark's MO. Like the last couple of hires hasn't been necessarily based on, can I have a guy that could potentially recruit, right? Because you've got the Chris Jacksons of the world, you have the Kenny Bakers of the world, and those guys come in here and get jobs where they're not really known for, you know, being recruiters because they're NFL guys. No, that's just what it is. But Sark at that time felt like the position needed certain things, right? And so he felt like that the position needed this development, coaching, and knowing that, you know what, at the end of the day, I can recruit. Like I'm pretty damn good. Like I'm pointing this out when I did the show with Catch on Monday. If you Sark, you say to yourself, like, well, shoot, man, I've been doing this thing and holding it down since USC. I'm a pretty damn good recruiter. So I know I can recruit. I know Jeff Banks can recruit. I've got some support staff that I feel really good about. So, you know, for Sark's like, man, I can teach you. I've got this. So I can teach you how to do this. And so you look at a guy like Chris Jackson who comes in, and again, I had this interview with Chris Jackson a couple of years ago, and I asked him about like the transition, and he started telling me like just a really honest, transparent conversation about like, hey, when I got hired, like I was behind in recruiting with a lot of these guys. And he even mentioned a guy like Michael Hudson by name. He's like, I was behind on Michael Hudson and I could just never really catch up. But I feel like now I'm going to be on equal footing. This was after year one, right? And so it was at a bowl game. So it had to be, was it the Alamo Bowl? I forget, but it had to be the year before, right? So anyway, I don't know if it was Alamo. I forget where the interview was. Texas is going to so many bowl games nowadays. I just can't remember them all. It's first world problems. Anyway, you see what happens this year, right? He has plenty of time, and then he's able to put his foot in it. And next thing you know, Chris Jackson is the Rivals National Recruiter of the Year because of the guys that he was able to get, right? And so, even losing a guy like the Corey Moore, you're able to see that, the Jamie French, the Khalid Lockett's, the Michael Terry's, the Dale McCutcheon, like you're able to see that, right? So they know they can develop guys into becoming elite recruiters, and there's Kenny Baker, and obviously he's able to get a Justice Terry, like all those kind of things. There's also a third part of it, and we can't like act wholly ignorant, but NIL obviously plays a part in the decision that guys are making, right? Like let's not just be ignorant, right? Let's just not say to ourselves, oh no, it's because these guys are interested in the Macomb school. Like, no, there's some cash involved. Like we get it. Like that's life. Shoot, that's why we take our jobs, right? I mean, you ain't working at Dell because you just told yourself, I just want to work at Dell. Like you working at Dell because they're paying you, right? Let's just keep it a buck, so there's nothing wrong with that. That's just life. That's capitalism. So, but they go into this one knowing that, okay, we know we can recruit. Like we know Jeff Banks is a kick-ass recruiter. Jeff Banks is great at what he does. We know Sark's great at what he does, but would it hurt if this next hire ends up being somebody who actually knows that the Houston area? When I say know the Houston area, I used this example yesterday, right? And just but I can't act like y'all watch the show every day, even though you should be watching the show every day. And I'm hoping you recommend the show to people. Help your unk out. I just just tell people like, yo, man, this guy, this peanut head dude who I watch in the mornings, he's kind of cool sometimes. Anyway, so. But it helps that, at the end of the day, he's got some ties to the Houston area. And it's almost kind of gives him the best of both worlds. Because what I was saying, like when you start thinking about, when I say like connections, right? I use the example of like when you ever like go somewhere, let's say you're in another city, right? And you are start talking to somebody and you realize that, oh snap, like we're from like the same town or the same city or whatever like that. Then what happens in the natural part of that conversation? Have you ever been to this place? Yeah, I've been to this place. Have you ever been to this spot? Yeah, I've been to this spot. Do you know this place? Yeah. And now all of a sudden you guys are connecting, right? Like just on a different level, because now all of a sudden there's this bond, right? And then that's how it helps and works in recruiting, where now I'm talking to the Houston people, man, this and that. Man, I know this person. I know that person. I know your cousin. Oh, man, I know, man, that your uncle's this, so on and so forth. It's not the everything, right? But it's something for connectivity in order to help. It's a good way to kind of know the landscape, to know how to navigate, to know that this school is like this, and this is what you expect from this school, and this is what you expect from these kind of coaches, and this is these people's handlers and all these kind of things, just little things like that. It's not to say that he will only be in Houston. I mean, let's not be naive. Texas is a brand where Texas is recruiting nationwide, right? But it does help when you start looking at like the guys that they want to get out of the Houston area, some of the guys that they've missed on the Houston area, to kind of be able to solidify that. They do great in DFW, but to be able to kind of solidify that and put maybe a chokehold on that and be able to put somebody there who's young and who's got the chops. And by the way, when you say, oh, where's, we're about recruiting. Well, that's where you go back into leaning on Sark and those guys. Like, we will show you how to perfect it, right? Somebody asked on Orange Bloods. They're like, well, they asked me last night. And it was late. It was late. It was late at night. I was a little tired. I already had like a drink in my system. So I was like, I don't feel like I want to respond. This, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, I don't know. Let me just wait until the morning on this. And they're like, well, how many guys from Houston has he been able to get to Rutgers? And I was like, it's kind of apples and oranges, because the kind of guys that Texas wants to get out of Houston areas probably they're not recruiting against Rutgers for those guys. They're recruiting against Alabama and Georgia and those kind of things for those kind of elite. Hell, University of Houston or things to that effect, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, like all those schools, right? So anyway, but you look at his resume, and he begins his coaching career in South Carolina. He's a quality control coach for a couple of years. He also was there as a grad assistant in 2013. He gets his full-time coaching job at Texas Southern. He coaches cornerbacks over there from 2011, 2012. By the way, he committed to Southern and played for Southern as well. Texas Southern. Have you ever been to Texas Southern, by the way? I have a really I have a crazy Texas Southern story, man. Like, this is okay. So can I just go off the rails for a second? So y'all remember when they used to do satellite camps? Y'all remember when you used to do satellite camps? And I remember, I think it was Tom Herman was doing a satellite camp. Remember that was supposed to be the thing, right? Oh my God, it's going to be these satellite camps, right, man? So I get a hotel room close to that because it's supposed to start at 9:00. So I get this hotel room at that. I guess it's like Houston has like 2 downtowns or something like that. They have 2 downtowns. Never been to Texas Southern, right? I don't know anything, but they got 2 downtowns, right? So I'm staying at whatever the second downtown is. Y'all have to help me with the whole thing. There's like a train railway in there. It's pretty cool, right? So anyway, in the morning I wake up. I gotta be at Texas Southern, and I put in the address on Waze, and I'm driving, and Waze is taking me through all the back roads, and I'm like, where the hell am I? I'm seeing all kinds of things that boarded up, broken bottles. I'm like, what? I think it's midtime money. Yeah. And so already I get the strap, right? Because I'm like, man, I don't know where I'm at, but I don't need to be here. Hopefully I get here soon. And so then there's a streetwalker in the middle of the road, like standing in the middle of the road, right? Streetwalker, y'all know who that is. Lady of the night, who apparently was the lady of the day. Her legs are apparently so ashy that she starts licking her hand and using it like on her ankles to get rid of the ashiness, right? But she in the middle of the street, she walking slow, and I'm like, what in the hell is this? And she turned around and like tried to give me a look like, what's up? I was like, yo, I am so good. Man, I've never been so happy to get to a college campus. I was like, where the hell am I? You can see the University of Houston like a few blocks away. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's where the sun's shining. Like, where the hell am I? Anyway, Texas Southern, fascinating place. I'm like, I don't know. I'll be like nervous to drop a kid off over there. But I'll be like, boy, you need to stay on campus. But anyway, he goes to Texas Southern. It's a funny memory that I had. So he goes to Texas Southern. And he's a coach there for a little bit. There's gonna be like some Texas Southern people that reach out to me today, be like, I can't believe you disrespect our school like that. I'm like, I can't believe y'all where y'all located. And then he goes to Utah State, does a secondary there for 2019 and 2020. Before that, he was at Montana State. But then he goes to Alabama, and this is where he's a kind of a defensive analyst over there. And this is where, I feel like one of the things that helps him is that and I said this early on Monday, like start being able to know he can reach out to Nick Saban and say, like, what can you tell me about this dude? That makes all the difference in the world, right? That makes a huge difference because that's his mentor, right? And so I see you see that. And then, of course, he goes to Rutgers, and he's been there since 2022. And now this is an opportunity for him to come back home, be in his home state, link up with Terry Joseph. And the feeling from behind the scenes is that this is a really great hire. And, one of the things I pointed out, and I give Sark just a ton of credit for, is that when you look at Sark and the replacements that he's had since he's been here, you can argue that all of them have been pretty much upgrades from the time that he's been here. 5 of Sark's, so let's do the math. 5 of Sark's original hires are still here, right? There's been so the guys who have left or who parted ways with the program. There's been 6 of them, right? It's been Stan Drayton, Jeff Choate, Andre Coleman, Brendan Marion, Bo Davis, and of course Gideon, right? Now, Drayton and Choate, those guys became head coaches. Okay, Marion becomes a receivers coach, right? So there's only one person that Sark really ever had to say, like, this ain't working out, and that was Andre Coleman. Outside of that, when you look at everybody else, he's got a lot of consistency, a lot of continuity. The guys that he originally hired who are still here are Jeff Banks. They've been Kyle Flood, Terry Joseph, Pete K, AJ Milway, and to a certain degree, and I'll put an asterisk by it, not technically a coach, but it counts as a coaching sort of role. Torrey Becton, he's been here from the beginning as well. But when you look at the time when he's gotten rid, I'd say guys have gone, for the most part, they've been upgrades, right? Chris Jackson, you can argue to a certain degree, may have been an upgrade over Brendan Marion because, Chris Jackson ends up being the Rivals National Recruiter of the Year. Kenny Baker comes in, and people they lost Bo Davis, and they thought to themselves, oh man, what are we going to do? And at the end of the day, there's more camaraderie within the staff. And Kenny Baker ends up being a really good recruiter and a position coach who's able to get the most out of Alfred Collins and Vernon Broughton, 2 guys that, for the most part, I'll be honest with you, when going into last year, I was like, okay, if this is who you're riding with, all right. Those guys end up kicking it out the park, right? Knocking it out the park. Johnny Nansen comes in, immediate impact, right? Immediate huge impact. You lose Stan Drayton, and you think to yourself, oh man, well, what's next? And then you get Tashard Choice, who comes in, and he not only takes the baton, but he runs with it because he ends up being an elite recruiter. And so when I look at the guys who have left, and I look at the guys that Sark has replaced them with, I say to myself, damn, doing pretty damn good. And then, so I look at this one, and no matter what you say or may or may not know about Orphey at this moment, all I can tell you is that if we look at Sark's resume, you got to say to yourself, man, all right, you got it. I believe you, because everything you have done from a coaching standpoint, everybody that you found replaced, they haven't met the standard. They've taken it and gone even further. So that's what it is with Orphey. I'm assuming that at some point, he's going through the onboarding process. He'll probably be in here at some point, I guess pretty soon, enjoying the staff. I don't know if he put anything out on Twitter or anything to that effect. I guess I probably need to start following him. But anyway, that's kind of ends up being the story of Orphey. All right, I did say to y'all, if you have any questions, put this in the chat. I'll go through some of your comments right here. A great job on breaking news on where I appreciate that. Conor McGregor voice. Yeah, well, you're about to find out. All I can tell you is right there. What is this? Jay Francis. I don't know, all decide to giving you your flowers. Oh, well, that's pretty cool. I appreciate it. Good morning to you, Nail. Okay. We got that question. Now I'm just going through all the questions. Okay, here you go. Vivek asked me, how good do you think this new hire is, Anwar? Well, I think it's pretty good. I think that one, he's got the talent to work with. And so you know that. Two, he's got good coaches around him that will help him with the transition. You got an excellent coordinator in Pete K. So you got that. You got Nansen, you've got Terry Joseph. You've got good guys that he's going to be working with. He's got Steve Sarkisian. And he's got the talent that's in the room. And one of the things that I was told before is that they want a huge battle at the safety position. They really want that to be a position of strength, really the DBs. And so this entire offseason, get ready for those things. Get ready for DB battles. And that's what you're going to hear a lot of. That's going to be a theme. So just remember who told you first when they talking about it in August. Remember who told you in February. Maybe told you. But so the safety position is a key position as well, right? And so especially you losing a guy like Makuba, right? Who's going to be the next guy that stays in? The same way with the DBs, to lose a guy like Jade, who's going to be the next guy that steps in. And so Orphey is going to be a guy that they're going to expect to come in, coach hard. And the thing is, if you're on Saban's staff, by the way, you can be coached hard because Nick Saban's a guy who knows how to get into, rip people a new one. And so and Sark can do the same thing. Y'all know Sark. Y'all seen him. Yeah, y'all know Sark. Y'all know Sark can be about that life when he wants to be. And so you got a guy that can take being coached hard. So it ends up being kind of a win for everybody. So I think this is a really good hire. It's probably, would it be the sexy name coming from a school that you're like, oh man, he did it at a Notre Dame or something to that effect. But or Georgia or something, but whatever school you want to say. But I actually think at the end of the day, this ends up being a really man, Spectrum done failed me again with that BS, man. You know what? I have a saying that says, don't complain about the things you tolerate. And I keep tolerating Spectrum. They got on their act right. And I thought to myself, okay, we're good, Spectrum. I thought to myself, we good, Spectrum. But Spectrum did it again. Spectrum did it again. All right, Spectrum. We're fixing to break up. Okay. Damn you, Spectrum. All right. Anyway, we back. It's on some BS. Some BS, Spectrum. Spectrum, your internet sucks. I'm just going to tell you that. I know that won't help me get a sponsorship with you, but it wouldn't help me to get a sponsorship with you if nobody can see the damn show anyway. Anyway, so what's your prediction that what they do with the Nichols coach? Who's the next hire? Do they get a passing game coordinator, or Joseph will be that? I'm still sorting that out, South End Zone Queen, as to the roles. So I should have an answer for you by that tomorrow on that, South End Zone Queen, to tell you what the roles are, what these things are, and that. Sandman with a joke. All right, Sandman got his joke in. I'm just gonna let that one go. No. All right, let me keep going here. Keep going here. Make sure there's no more questions in here. Here we go. Oh, this is a good one. Texas Traveler. And how much faith does the staff have in Trey as QB2? Okay. A lot, actually. I was told the other week, Texas Traveler, that if God forbid that Arch, was unable to play for any God forbid, reason, that they feel really good about Trey. Like they feel really, really good about him as QB2. Like they like him a lot. I mean, love him. Quite honest with you, I've heard fantastic things about him. So lots of faith. He's got a strong arm, which they love. He's able to have good connections. He can make all the throws, the long, the intermediate. Lots of faith. Like everybody I spoke to is really happy with Trey as QB2. So there you go as far as that is concerned. Just gonna go. I'm gonna make sure there's no more questions in here. Oh, here we go. It's Jose Rodriguez. I got to learn how to roll my R's, Jose, so I apologize for that. Do you think Sark goes after another DB coach with the limits of on-field coaching going away? Well, look, I would say this. If Sark's going to do anything, typically the coaches he adds are typically the defensive side. He did add that Wisconsin coach a couple of years ago as an analyst. But I don't know. I don't know where they're at as far as that is concerned, Jose. I'll be honest with you. I haven't asked that question, and so I don't want to give you a kind of a BS answer, to be honest with you, Jose. So I know where they're at this moment. I know where they're at from the analyst things. I'm not quite sure where they're at for that question. It's a good question, but I just don't want to BS you and just tell you some stuff just to make myself sound good. And then next thing you know, he goes out and hires like four offensive line coaches. You're like, what the hell was I talking about? Good morning to your heart just as well. Want to make sure, yes, freeze frame. I'm back. Okay, good. You guys didn't have any more questions, which is actually pretty good. And yet, by the way, I was in the third ward. That place is wild. I was like, first time I was there, last time I was there, that place I was like, that is not a place that I need to be. I need to get, I was like, what did this place look like at night? And I was raised in the hood, country hood, but I was raised in the hood. I was like, man, I need to get the hell out of here. I left the strap in the car though, but I always got to stay strapped up. All right, y'all. That's it. I'm going to work on some more stuff. I should have some more information for you about this tomorrow. We've got House Divided at noon. I'm sure Catch will have some more as far as this breaking news is concerned. Of course, you got the guys at 6 o'clock with Football and Friends, but I'm sure they've have enough time to work on some things. So I appreciate y'all. I'm glad that y'all listen. I'm glad you tuned in. I hope you hit the like button as well. Shout out to those websites who showed on some love. I appreciate it, but I don't know. The whole thing is like golf to me. It's all about golf. Just play your own game. But I appreciate all those guys as well. Make sure you do, make sure what I always tell you, live each day like it was your last. One day it will be. Go out and do something special for yourself. Go out there and have a good one. Valentine's Day is tomorrow, so do something special for yourself. I don't know. My old lady pissed me off last night, so I'm doing something special for myself. I'm going to go out and buy myself something today. That's what I'm going to do. She on my damn nerves, boy. But that's a subject for another day. I'll say that for Valentine's Day. Y'all be happy. Remember what I always say, live each day like